What if you had the ability to talk to your future self? What advice would your future self tell you about retirement? I've had the benefit of talking to people in their 80s and 90s who have lived 20, 30, even 40 years in retirement, and I want to share 6 things that have surprised many people late in retirement, and in some cases, made them regret decisions they made earlier in life. The first comment that I get all the time is, my income is higher than I thought it would be. And this is especially true later in life, into your 80s, into your 90s. I met with a 84, 85-year-old couple just last week, and they were saying, Adam, we've been working together for 15 years now, and it's amazing that my income is as high as it is. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we projected. That's why I said, go travel. And they did many, many cruises. I think they went on like 40 or 50 cruises back in their go-go phase. And it was really mapping out, go spend this money because you're going to be okay later. They have pensions, they have CPP, OAS, all of that. They can't spend everything that's coming in now. So we depleted the majority, pretty much all their personal assets early so that they could check off their bucket list. They could cruise the world. They could do the things they wanted to do. But their comment to me last week was, we're surprised because our income is actually higher today than it was back when I was working. Now, inflation has a big part of that, but the reality is that they're collecting way more money than they thought they'd ever get. Now, fortunately, when we look back, they were able to do all the things they wanted to do. So there's no regrets there. But again, I hear from retired clients of I'm actually surprised how much money I'm collecting into my late 70s, into my 80s. Before we jump into number 2, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, join the channel. We release 2 brand new videos every week around tax, estate, and retirement planning for Canadians. The second thing I hear all the time is, I can't spend all my money. And you may have parents, you may have someone you know well, that's into their late 70s, into their 80s. And the reality is they can't spend all that money. And it kind of ties into number 1 is, maybe their income's higher than they thought it would be, thus they have more money and they can't spend it all. But it's actually quite difficult to spend money later in life because there's only so many things you can do and spend money on. You eat less, you're probably not traveling, there's just a lot of things that you spent your money on earlier in retirement and just earlier in life in general, that's just not there anymore. So I take my 99.5-year-old client as an example. Wealthy individual, spent his money and his time, but it's really hard for him to spend almost anything because he eats very little, he owns his place already, there's little overhead. If you're entering retirement, talk to those people in your life that are in their 70s and 80s. Ask them what they spend, ask them their experience so that you can learn from them and understand what has retirement been like for you. The third comment I hear again and again would be, healthcare isn't actually eating away at my budget like I thought it would be. Now, obviously those outliers are out there where, yes, you need a care facility, you have an expensive medication. Healthcare definitely can be very expensive later in life or at any point in life. But for most of you, as you go through retirement, yes, there's going to be healthcare costs along the way. But for a lot of you, you really do fear that, I need the care facility, I'm going to be there for 15 years. That's not the reality for the majority of you watching this video. And so as I talk to people in their 80s, a big concern was, I put a lot of money aside for healthcare costs. And that money that I put aside held me back from doing things earlier in retirement, and I kind of regret that now. And so again, it's kind of this fine balance of making sure you're taking care of your future self, but also enjoying your current self and what you're able to do. So again, everyone's opinion, everyone's mindset on this is going to be a little different, but work with your financial planner to find that balance. Don't give up too much now for something that you probably don't need later, but make sure you don't blow it all now either, because you don't want to leave yourself high and dry later when you need that care. The fourth feedback I get all the time is, I waited too long to retire. And we come across this quite a bit when we do plans with clients of, when can I retire? And when we build out their plan, a lot of times the answer is, 2 years ago. You're past when you could have retired. Now, again, a lot of people keep working because they want to, they enjoy their work, all of that. But a lot of retirees, again, you only have so many years. If you retire at 65, statistically early 70s, when health starts to go downhill, when the ability to travel and do that stuff. So let's call it age 75, that only gives you 10 years. Well, if you could retire a couple years earlier, that could give you an extra 20% of retirement. That's a lot. So make sure you're not working longer than you need to. Make sure you understand where you lie. And that's why I would say, when's the best time to get a retirement plan done? is typically about 5 to 10 years from when you plan to retire. That gives you a bit of a runway to make any adjustments, but it also gives you a clear direction on, is 10 years realistic? Could I retire in 7 or 8? Or is 5 years? Could I retire in 1 or 2 years? It gives you a bit of a ground to make sure you understand when you can actually retire, because sure, some of you want to keep working even though you can retire, but most of us want to retire as soon as we can. So make sure you understand what that looks like for yourself, because again, big feedback I get from people in their 80s is, yeah, I wish I retired a few years earlier. I could have, I didn't, I wish I did at this point. The fifth one ties into that, and is that people waited too long to enjoy retirement. And again, we've done a few videos on kind of the phases of retirement, the 4 phases of retirement, and the honeymoon phase and all this. There's different phases, but part of those earlier phases sometimes is that you get excited, you're all in, the fireworks are going off of, yes, I'm in retirement, I can do this. And then you hit that kind of pullback phase, and it's hard to know, like, how do I deal with this? And a lot of people, it's kind of analysis paralysis, and you lose a year or 2, sometimes 3 years of retirement, you're just not enjoying it. And again, if you only have 10 years of that go-go phase, you've now wasted 20 to 30% of those really good retirement years. So as you gear up for retirement, create that bucket list. Create, what do the next 2, 3, 4 years, the first 2 or 3, 4 years of retirement look like for you? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? If you can plan out, it's like anything in life, if you can write it down, plan it out, the likelihood of you accomplishing those things is much greater. For me, I write down my goals, my objectives, personal, family, all that, business, every single year. So I write it down on paper so I can follow it, so I can track it. The same thing needs to be for you in your retirement. Write it down, track it, map it out, share it with someone, have a group of people that are retiring around the same time, whatever it is that you need. But make sure you're not losing, especially those early years of retirement, make sure you're not losing out on them because of analysis paralysis or uncertainty or whatever it is. And again, a lot of you aren't enjoying early retirement because you don't know what you can spend. Get a plan in place. Why are you spending 40 years building up for retirement, and then you're holding everything way too close to the chest because you don't know what to do? You haven't hired someone to help you out. Reach out to someone that knows what you're doing. If you need help with that, reach out to our office. We're happy to help you out, but talk to your financial planner, talk to a financial planner that specializes in retirement planning. Our team, we specialize in retirement planning, the decumulation or the drawdown of your accounts. It's very different than the accumulation phase. There's a lot of tax planning and strategy and benefits to you as a retiree. Make sure you understand them and make sure you know how to take advantage of them as well to put the most money back in your pocket. The sixth and final feedback I want to share with you is, again, from 80-year-olds, from 90-year-olds, and the feedback is they're really glad they delayed their CPP and potentially their old age security as well to have a larger guaranteed income later in life. They spent down their money earlier, they did their RSP meltdown, they did that laddered income strategy, and the majority, if not all their income later in life is all guaranteed. It's CPP, it's old age security, possibly too if you're married. It's maybe a small pension plan. It's guaranteed inflation adjusted income. They don't have to worry about the stock markets and their investments and all that kind of stuff. That's the last thing they want to worry about. And so I get constant feedback. And again, this couple that I met with last week, been a long-time client of mine. They're sitting in a situation where, yeah, they have more income than they need, but it's guaranteed income. They enjoyed earlier part of retirement. It's exactly what I preach all the time on this channel of here's how you need to build your retirement plan. I see it lived out 10, 15, 20 years later. I see the benefits. I get feedback from these clients of, okay, based on what we did, how is it now? And 100% of the time, people are glad they delayed that CPP. Now, I know a lot of you watching this video say, Adam, I'm not delaying CPP. I'm taking it at 61, 62, as early as possible, whenever that is. But the reality is like, you need to plan ahead. A lot of you are living in the moment, and you're not kind of looking further out. And so that's why it's good to talk to people that have lived through retirement, that are in their 80s now. Are they glad they took CPP early? Are they glad that they have a smaller amount of CPP, they don't have as much income as they could use because they took that CPP early? I would say probably not. And so again, everyone's situation is a little bit different, but I can say the bulk of people that take their CPP later are very thankful both when they do it and later on in life. So you want to make sure you understand how this works. Talk to those people around you. Talk to other coworkers that have retired. If you have a pension plan, how does it work? Like, there's so many variables and nuances to retirement. And again, I always say here, retirement brings a lot of tax planning that you've never had before. And that's where putting a proper plan in place can put thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars back in your pocket. So make sure you have a clear plan. Again, if you need help with that, reach out to our office. We have all of our information on our website, including pricing, structure, a sample plan, all of that. You can learn more at parallelwealth.com/planning. We'll see you in the next video.